I want you to picture a kid. Let's call him Jason H. He's a high school sophomore,
Cool.
and on paper, Jason is, well, he's the student every parent dreams of. Straight A's, super bright, and just absolutely fixated on his future. His goal isn't just college, it is Harvard Medical School, period.
So high stakes, high pressure, the whole package.
Immense pressure. He's the kid you'd bet your entire life savings on. But then, one day, his physics teacher hands back a quiz. Jason looks down at the grade. It's an 80, AB.
Which, for most students, is,
Yeah.
It's fine.
Hmm.
But for a perfectionist who's got his sights set on Harvard,
Yeah.
that's got to feel like a total catastrophe.
It felt like the end of the world, and this is where the story it goes off the rails. The very next day, Jason takes a butcher knife to school.
Oh! What?
He finds his physics teacher, and he stabs him right in the collarbone.
Whoa, hold on. He brought a butcher knife to school because he got a B on a quiz.
Because of a bee.
That is, horrific doesn't even begin to cover it. That's completely unhinged.
Thankfully, the teacher survived. And a panel of psychologists later found Jason had been temporarily insane during the attack. But here is the real kicker, and this is why we're talking about him today. Jason transferred schools, kept his head down, and eventually graduated with a 4.6 GPA.
So the intellect, the pure brain power was still there.
The intellect was pristine, but in that moment with the knife...
He was, for lack of a better way to put it, just incredibly stupid.
Exactly. And that is the paradox we were wrestling with in this deep dive. How can someone be so smart enough to ace advanced physics and yet be so monumentally dumb when it comes to just living life?
It's the central question of the material we're looking at today. Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence. We have this idea that intelligence is one single thing, your IQ. And if you have a high IQ, you're set for life.
Right.
But Goleman argues that we really have two minds. The rational mind, the one that thinks, and the emotional mind, the one that feels.
And as Jason's story shows, when that emotional mind grabs the steering wheel, the rational mind gets shoved into the trunk.
Oh, gets locked in the trunk. Bound and gagged.
So today we're diving into why smart people make terrible decisions, the biological reason you lose your cool in traffic, which I am very guilty of, and the big question, can we actually train our brains to handle this stuff better?
And we really do mean losing it. Goleman has this term for that feeling when you just snap at your spouse or a coworker, and then later you're thinking, I don't even know what came over me. He calls it a neural hijack.
A neural hijacking. That sounds like something out of science fiction, but he's talking about actual physical brain stuff here, right?
He is. This is not a metaphor.
Yeah.
It's hardware.
Yeah.
To really get why Jason H. did what he did or why you scream at a bad driver, we have to look at how the brain is built. You've got the neocortex, that's the thinking brain, all the wrinkly gray matter on top.
The part that learns physics.
Exactly. It's logic, analysis, what makes us human. But deep inside, sitting right on top of the brainstem, there's this tiny almond-shaped cluster of cells called the amygdala.
The amygdala. Okay, I've heard of this. It's the emotional center, right?
It's the emotional sentinel. Think of it like the alarm company for your entire body. It is constantly scanning everything you see, everything you hear, and is looking for just one thing: trouble.
So, is this a threat? Is this bad?
Is this something I hate? Is this something that hurts me? Is this something I fear? And if the answer is yes, the amygdala reacts instantly. It hits the panic button.
And that sends signals everywhere.
To every major part of the brain. It triggers fight or flight hormones, gets your muscles ready, speeds up your heart rate, it prepares you for war.
Okay, so that makes sense for, survival. If a tiger jumps out of the bushes, I need to move now. Yeah. But here's where the hijacking part confuses me. Normally, when we see something, the signal goes to the thinking brain first, doesn't it? We process it, we think, oh, that's a tiger, and then we get scared.
That's the standard route, yeah. The high road. Sensory signals go to a part called the thalamus, then up to the neocortex for analysis, and then down to the amygdala.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where the source material gets so fascinating. Goleman points to this revolutionary research by a neuroscientist, Joseph Ledoux. And Ledoux found a back alley.
A back alley.
A literal neural shortcut. A smaller, faster bundle of neurons that runs directly from the thalamus straight to the amygdala.
So it bypasses the thinking brain.
It completely bypasses the neocortex.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying my brain can decide to be scared before my thinking brain even knows what it's looking at?
It's all about speed. The signal splits.
Mm-hmm.
The part that goes up the high road to the thinking brain takes longer. It's more accurate, but it's slow. The signal on a low road, the back alley, is lightning fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's imprecise, but man, is it quick.
So the alarm company can trigger the sprinklers before the homeowner even knows there's a fire.
That's a perfect analogy. The amygdala can trigger a full-blown emotional response milliseconds before the neocortex has even registered what's happening. Have you ever been out in the yard and you see a curved shape on the ground, and for a split second you jump back because you think it's a snake?
Yes, absolutely. My heart just stops.
And then, a moment later, you realize, oh, it's just a garden hose.
Right. And I feel like an idiot.
You shouldn't. That was your amygdala saving your life, that jump. That happened before your thinking brain knew what that shape was. It saw curved shape, assumed snake, and fired the boosters. For survival, that's a brilliant system.
But for that split second, I was hijacked.
You were operating on pure precognitive emotion. We are literally feeling before we are thinking. And this system, designed for dodging predators in the Pleistocene era, is now reacting to rude emails.
Or a B on a physics quiz.
Exactly. When that neural hijacking kicks in, the amygdala declares an emergency and recruits the rest of the brain to its urgent agenda. The thinking brain basically goes offline.
Which explains why Jason H., this brilliant student, couldn't access the part of his brain that would say, hey, a B isn't worth going to jail for.
That part of his brain was temporarily out of service. The amygdala was in charge.
Okay, so this brings up a huge question for me. Jason was smart, like really, really smart. Why didn't his high IQ protect him from this? We are so obsessed with IQ in our culture. We think it's the golden ticket.
We do. We tell our kids, you get the good grades, you get the high test scores, you're going to be successful and happy. But the data it doesn't really back that up.
It doesn't.
Not nearly to the extent we think.
Yeah.
Goldman talks about this study of 95 Harvard grads from the 1940s. These were the absolute best of the best, and they tracked them into middle age. You'd expect them all to be captains of industry, right?
Yeah, CEOs, leaders, perfectly happy, successful people.
But it turned out that the guys with the highest test scores in college weren't necessarily the most successful later on. Not in terms of salary or productivity or even just life satisfaction compared to their peers who scored lower.
So being the smartest guy in the room doesn't mean you win the game.
Not at all. Goldman estimates that, at best, IQ accounts for about 20% of the factors that determine life success. That leaves a massive 80% for other forces. And most of those forces are what we now call emotional intelligence.
Okay, so let's define that. Emotional intelligence, or EQ. I think for a lot of people that just sounds like being nice.
It's so much more than that. It's about self-regulation. Goldman uses this framework from a psychologist, Peter Salovey, which breaks it down into 5 main areas: knowing what you feel, managing those feelings, motivating yourself, recognizing emotions in other people, which is empathy, and then handling relationships.
I want to zoom in on that third one, motivating oneself, stifling impulsiveness. Because when I was reading the material, I got to the marshmallow test. Now, I've heard of this, but the details are actually way wilder than I remembered.
Oh, it's the classic study on impulse control.
Yeah.
So Walter Mischel, the researcher, he takes these 4-year-olds, puts them in a room one by one with a single marshmallow. And the deal is simple. You can eat this one marshmallow right now. But if you can wait until I get back from running an errand, you can have 2.
Which, let's be real, is just pure torture for a 4-year-old. 5 minutes feels like an eternity.
It's forever. And what was so cool is that Mischel wasn't just watching if they ate it, but how they waited. The kids who held out. The strategies they used were just amazing. They'd cover their eyes, they'd sing songs to themselves. One kid even tried to go to sleep.
Anything to distract themselves. And then you have the other kids who just...
The second the door closed. But the truly mind-blowing part is what happened when they tracked these kids down years later as teenagers.
This is the data point that just stops you in your tracks.
It really does. The kids who waited, the ones who had that impulse control at age 4, they grew up to be more socially competent, more dependable, better at handling stress. But the real shocker was their academic performance.
Their SAT scores.
Yes. The kids who waited for the second marshmallow had SAT scores that were, on average, 210 points higher than the kids who ate it right away.
210 points. That's massive.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a state school and an Ivy League school for some people. And that wasn't based on an IQ test.
Nope. It was based on whether they could resist a marshmallow at age 4. It suggests that impulse control, a key part of emotional intelligence, is this massive predictor of your intellectual potential.
So EQ is like the gatekeeper for your IQ.
Exactly. Goldman calls it a malleability. It determines how well we can actually use whatever other skills we happen to have.
Okay, so waiting for a marshmallow is one thing, but resisting, that screaming rage when someone cuts you off in traffic,
Oh,
that feels like a totally different beast.
yeah.
I feel like we've all been told that when you're angry, you should just let it all out. Venting is good for you.
The great myth of catharsis.
But is it a myth? I have to push back a little here. If I'm furious about something and I rant to a friend or scream into a pillow, I do feel a sense of relief. It feels like better out than in.
That's the common wisdom, the hydraulic model of anger. That it's like steam building up in a boiler and you need to open the release valve. It's a popular idea.
Really?
But the science actually shows the opposite.
Really?
Venting doesn't get rid of anger, it rehearses it. Goldman cites researchers who found that when you act out your anger, you're actually pumping up your brain's arousal system. You're flooding your system with catecholamines, these energy hormones.
So by screaming, I'm just dosing myself with more anger juice.
You're practicing being angry. You're reinforcing the neural pathway for rage. See, anger builds on anger. It's a sequence. You get cut off in traffic, you yell. That triggers an adrenaline rush that lasts for minutes. But the background arousal, it can last for hours. So when you get home and your kid spills a glass of milk.
I snap at the kid. Oh, for something tiny.
Exactly. You were primed for it because you spent your entire drive home venting.
That makes a terrifying amount of sense. Okay, so if punching a pillow is out, what am I supposed to do? Just bottle it up?
No, not bottle it up. The key is to short-circuit the loop. And timing is everything. You have to catch that train of angry thoughts early. Because once the full-blown hijack is underway, you are, and this is a technical term, cognitively incapacitated. You literally can't think straight.
So what's the move?
The solution is reframing.
Reframing. Okay, give me an example. Let's say I get a passive-aggressive email from a coworker. My first thought is, this guy is trying to undermine me.
Right. And that thought, he's undermining me, that's the fuel for the fire. It justifies the anger. Reframing is actively forcing yourself to come up with a different story. Maybe he's under a lot of pressure from his own boss. Or maybe he just has no idea how that sounded.
I don't know, it feels hard to do in the moment. It feels like I'm making excuses for him.
It's not about excusing him. It's about saving yourself from the hijack. If you can reframe it as he's stressed instead of he's malicious, your amygdala doesn't pull the fire alarm. You stay calm. You keep your IQ online.
It's a self-defense strategy.
It is. And the same thing applies to worry. Chronic worry is just the low-grade emotional hijacking that goes on and on.
Okay, so that handles the internal stuff. But what about dealing with other people? The social arts, as the book calls it. This is where empathy comes in.
Empathy is the fundamental people skill. And Goldman says it starts way, way earlier than we think. It begins in the cradle with something he calls attunement.
Attunement. This is the mother-baby connection.
Yeah, it's when a parent responds not just to what an infant does, but to what the infant feels. If the baby squeals with delight, the mother coos back with a similar happy energy. She's matching the emotional tone. She's sending a message. I get you. I feel what you feel.
And when that doesn't happen, when parents ignore those emotions...
The cost is huge. The child essentially learns to stop expressing or even feeling those emotions. In the most extreme cases, you see a total absence of empathy, like in psychopaths. They see other people as objects because they simply cannot register another person's pain.
But on the flip side, when you do have high empathy, it can be incredibly powerful. There was a story in the source material about the Vietnam War that just blew my mind.
The story of the monks. Yes, it was in the middle of a firefight, total chaos, bullets flying. And suddenly, this line of 6 Buddhist monks starts walking along the berms between the rice paddies.
Just walking in the middle of a battle.
Perfectly calm, not looking left or right, just walking straight through the line of fire. And one of the soldiers said that seeing their complete and utter calm, it just took the fight right out of them. The whole platoon stopped firing. It's a phenomenon called emotional contagion.
We catch feelings like we catch a cold.
We do. We unconsciously mimic the facial expressions, the posture, the physiology of people we're with, and usually the person who is more emotionally expressive or more dominant sets the tone for everyone else. They call it entrainment.
The monks were so powerfully calm that they entrained the soldiers into silence.
It's incredible.
That leads us to my absolute favorite story in this entire deep dive. If you want a perfect picture of social intelligence in action, this is it. The story of Terry Dobson on the Tokyo subway.
This story it's like a movie scene. It really defines what Goldman calls emotional brilliance.
So set the scene for us.
It's the 1960s. Terry Dobson is an American in Japan studying Aikido. And Terry's a big guy. He's strong. He's training 8 hours a day,
Hmm.
and he's itching for a fight. He wants to test his skills in the real world.
He's a hammer looking for a nail.
Absolutely. So one afternoon, he's on a crowded train in Tokyo, and suddenly this huge, drunk, violent laborer stumbles into the car. He's screaming. He's aggressive. He swings at a woman holding a baby.
She's terrorizing the whole car.
Complete terror. Everyone is frozen, except Terry. Terry stands up. He thinks, okay, this is it. This is my moment. He starts to move toward the drunk, planning exactly how he's going to take this guy down with his Aikido moves.
And the drunk sees him coming.
Oh, yeah. The drunk roars, "A foreigner! You need a lesson in Japanese manners." And he gets ready to charge. Terry braces himself. And just as they're about to collide, someone yells, "Hey! Hey!" Like a friendly hey. A joyous hey. Like you just saw your best friend. The drunk is totally confused. He spins around and sees this tiny, elderly Japanese man in a kimono just beaming at him. And the old man waves him over. "Come here," he says.
Terry must be so annoyed. His big hero moment is getting interrupted.
He is furious. But the drunk is just bewildered. He stomps over to the old man and yells, "Why the hell should I talk to you?" And the old man with this huge smile just says, "What have you been drinking?"
He engages him. He doesn't meet aggression with aggression.
He completely connects with him. The drunk bellows, "I've been drinking sake and it's none of your business." And the old man says, "Oh, that's wonderful. I love sake too. Every night my wife and I, we warm up a little bottle and take it out to our garden."
He just starts telling this story about his wife and their persimmon tree.
He's completely changing the frame. He's just ignoring the rage and offering connection. He creates a new reality. The drunk's fists start to unclench. He's listening. And he just kind of softens. He says, "Yeah, I love persimmons too." And then the dam just breaks. "But I don't have a wife anymore. She died."
Wow.
And he just starts sobbing. He lost his job. He lost his home. He lost his wife. He wasn't a monster. He was a man in immense pain. And by the time the train gets to Terry's stop, the big drunk laborer is lying with his head in the old man's lap, and the old man is just gently stroking his hair.
That's unbelievable. Terry wanted to dominate him physically. The old man defeated him emotionally.
He resolved the conflict by connecting, not by dominating. That is the absolute pinnacle of emotional intelligence.
And that really brings us to the most hopeful part of all this. Unlike IQ, which is, largely fixed, you can't really double your IQ. Emotional intelligence is plastic.
We can learn this stuff.
We can get better at it.
The brain can change. We can retrain our amygdala. We can practice self-control like those marshmallow kids. We can learn to reframe our anger before we hit send on that email. These are skills. They are not fixed traits.
So temperament is not destiny.
Not at all. We are so often, as the old saying goes, passion slaves. But we have the wiring to become the masters of our own responses. We just have to engage the neocortex.
Before we wrap, there's one last kind of sobering thought from the material. It mentions that statistically, the current generation children is more emotionally troubled than the last. More lonely, more depressed, more impulsive.
It's a really concerning trend. And it raises this massive question for us as a society. We spend thousands of hours and dollars teaching our kids math and history. Where if we leave emotional education completely to chance, well, you get Jason H. You can have a 4.6 GPA and still end up with a butcher knife in your hand.
Right.
So maybe if we want a more civil society, we need to start teaching heart just as rigorously as we teach head.
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into emotional intelligence.
Stay cool out there.